Tell us about Barbados Bu'n Bu'n, because it's nearly there.
It's nearly
It's
there.
nearly there.
Yeah, I must say, I'm almost beginning to actually touch it and smell it. It's just so close. Bu'n Bu'n really is the bottom of the pot. It's an old Barbadian saying that, when you come home, you want the Bu'n Bu'n. It was reserved in the old days for the husband or special guests. Of course, today kids would probably put their nose up at that, but in fact it was really a very special part of the pot, and that's where all the goodness, all the ingredient would sink down, and so that was a very special thing. So that's what we call the book. But the book has now reached 500 and close to 575 pages.
Whoa.
Wasn't it a lot more? You've had to cull it.
I've had to
cull it. Yeah.
Yes, I've had to do a lot of cropping there, because we had it over at about 650. So there has been a lot that I've had to cut out. But we're going to keep it under 600 because we've decided to do it in 2 volumes. So we'll have volume 1 and 2, and we're going to put it in a lovely case. So each book will have its own sort of cover. Volume 1 and 2 will be 2 separate covers, and then we'll have a third cover, which will be the case itself. That also helps for reading, so you don't have to have this huge, big, heavy book, and so you can, you start off with a sort of under 300-page book and we'll go on to the other one. The book takes you on a culinary ride, roller coaster ride, I might add. It's from parish to parish. At the beginning of the book, I go into the sort of things that are normal all through the year: Christmas, Easter, birth, death, crop over, rum, sugar, all that sort of stuff. And then from there I start on this culinary adventure, and it goes from parish to parish, and we start in Christchurch and work our way right around and land up in St. Michael, which being the seat of the government and of the centre of Barbados, capital city.
Well, what I find particularly interesting is that it's not just about food. It's about life. It's about culture. It's about everything to do with Barbados. It's actually a phenomenally powerful, not just an educational tool, a tourism tool for people to understand their own country, let alone people like me from over and away to understand more about Barbados. So it's a vast undertaking.
Yes. I think it's actually a really important book, because I thought I knew Barbados well, and I do. But going round with Rosemary, and also then I've been privy to the book as well, because looking at photographs and helping, and Rosemary will send me things. What do you think? What do you think? And we go with that. And it blew me away with the amount of stories and the amount of things that happen in Barbados that a lot of us don't know about. And it's stories, it's myths, it's food. It's a book about Barbados and its food, and where it's come from. And we have such a mixture of, coming from different countries, so many of us.
I think that's a very
yes,
important point,
yes.
Corrie, because a lot of people think, because when I started writing the book, people were saying to me, but there's only so little that you can write about Barbados. It's food. It's a small island, therefore it has less amount of foods as compared to, say, Jamaica or Trinidad or something like that. But what people don't realize is that Barbados has become very cosmopolitan. I mean, all of a sudden, maybe it's because they're sort of like they're in little groups around and slowly mixing. But you have so many people, not only from the Caribbean islands, but from the Far East and from China, who have settled in Barbados, not just for 2 or 3 years. I'm talking 25, 30, 40 years. Generations. And their food is slowly being incorporated into ours. I mean, how many times do you have a stir fry at home? Then that's basically Chinese. That's not Bajan. And so on and so forth.
Curries.
So, and curries and things.
When I was editor of 50 Plus magazine, I went out to look into the communities on a Saturday morning under the tree. There they had this little fire with the breadfruit on it.
Yes.
And the image of that, that food becomes part of the whole culture. Is it fair to say that's one of the most common foods or fruits with the longest tradition?
So we know, breadfruit came all the way from Tahiti, but once it was embedded in the Caribbean psyche, it has become ours. And nearly every island has taken it in, and they do it in all different ways. The roasting of breadfruit in Jamaica, for instance, they don't really know much about boiling breadfruit in Jamaica. Theirs is really always roasted breadfruit, whereas here in Barbados, and in fact, when I go to Jamaica and I do breadfruit, I will do a breadfruit cuckoo for friends in Jamaica, and they love it. And I'm sure that it's those sort of exchanges that begin that movement to spreading how you do certain things. when it comes to food, and you have to understand that the traditions and the culture and the history of a country are based around food. And the movement of food has been a worldwide thing. And there's so many myths about, for instance, I heard the other day somebody was saying, cuckoo made with maize is really an African thing. No, it's not, actually, because maize came from this side of the world. Mm-hmm. It was taken to Africa because you had this back and forth thing happening. Yams, for instance, came from Africa, but they originally came
from South America.
No, yams came from all the way from China, all the way up in north, from Asia, and they came down. So, the movement of food has been quite amazing, and it forms part of what this whole world is. It joins the world. I wish we could only be joined in peace the same way as we can be joined in food.
Yes. So please go to Rosemary Parkinson's Barbados Bu'n Bu'n Facebook page and like it.
Yes, because I think that the more interest that we have, it might help a few people who I am requiring to sort of, help me along to get to the realization that this book is very important for Barbados and we need to get it out, and we need to get it out fast.
Well, the authorities need to recognize that, because those in power, whoever they are, at all levels, need to recognize that this is a major tool for tourism, and oh my goodness me, do we need some tools for tourism?
Well,
right
I think I should mention, though, Michael, that the Minister of Tourism, Mr. Seeley, he actually had me in, and it was a lovely, wonderful meeting, and the chairman of the BTA and also the new CEO of the BTA were there, and they have promised all the support possible. I am just waiting to hear from them now, but I'm sure that everything is going to be wonderful.
I hope
I hope so too,
because it's exactly what we need. It just, can you imagine giving this fabulous, shiny book all about life and culture in Barbados to all the embassies, and it could be given to embassies and high commissions and all those kind of places.
When you promote Barbados, when you promote Barbados overseas, take a box of the books.
I gave one to the ambassador. I gave him a Nyam Jamaica, the Chinese ambassador, the last one, not the current one, and he was so thrilled. He could not believe how beautiful this book was, and having visited Jamaica, he said he and his wife were so thrilled to read it all.
Can you imagine?
And this can happen with Barbados too.
Yes.
You imagine going into the High Commission and embassies all around the world and finding this book on in their reception area that you can leaf through. You would just fall in love with the place before you're there.